2019 Mazda CX-3 review. The Mazda CX-3 is usually a compact crossover competing for sales using a growing quantity of rivals. The Nissan Juke was the first of this type, but the Melbourne area of your vehicle market has expanded significantly. Therefore, the CX-3 also competes using the high-end Icona, Kia Stonic, Renault Captur, Volkswagen T-Roc, Peugeot 2008 and Ford EcoSport. Even rakish rivals just like the Toyota CHR and Mini Countryman fight for sales while using Mazda. The Mazda appeals with smart exterior styling with an equally upmarket checkout the interior, shared together with the Mazda 2 Super Mini, and one from the best driving experiences with the lot. There's another generous report on standard equipment throughout the CX-3 range, while there's a straightforward engine lineup, but using the option of all-wheel drive and automatic models you won't find with some with the competition. We ran one being a long-termer, watch more here. Mazda CX-3 petrol and diesel engines. Mazda has continued its Sky Active program of lightness and efficiency with all the CX-3 and, for petrol engines at the least, has shied far away from turbocharged downsizing, instead believing larger, naturally aspirated motors are definitely the way to go. With 121 horsepower, the entry-level 2.0-liter Sky Active G petrol unit is fitted that has a 6-speed manual gearbox as standard, having a 6-speed automatic elective, sending capacity to the front wheels. Choose the CX-3 in Sport nav trim and you could also order it with 4-wheel drive and also a more powerful version with the 2.0-liter petrol motor. Power jumps to 150 horsepower, but efficiency figures for that manual-only edition are slightly worse. Cheaper running costs come courtesy from the 1.8-liter Sky Active D turbocharged diesel, producing 115 horsepower, although at 270 Nm, big torque is above the petrol offerings. Manual versions serve up lower CO2 emissions and fuel economy versus the petrols. This new diesel engine replaced the previous 1.5-liter Sky Active D unit in 2019 in the event the CX-3 received a gentle range update. Mazda CX-3 trim level choices. The familiar Mazda trim hierarchy of CNAF, CLNAF and SportNAF were employed over the CX-3 range, and also a top-level GT Sport, but this changed slightly in September 2019. Along which has a mild facelift and engine changes, Mazda tweaked the trim level names to CNAF Plus, CLNAF Plus, SportNAF Plus, and introduced limited run Sport Black Plus. Equipment levels are generous. Wonderful CX-3 models getting alloy wheels, sat-nav, aircon, electric windows, DAB radio, Bluetooth, cruise control, keyless ignition plus a 7.0-inch color multimedia screen is standard. Choosing an CLNAF Plus adds front fog lights, automatic lights and wipers, rear parking sensors, heated front seats, climate control, lane departure warning system and darkened rear privacy glass. SportNAF Plus upgrades the 16-inch alloy wheels to 18 inches, plus the inside is spruced with half-leatherette sports seats. Adaptive LED headlights, a Bose stereo, front and back sensors, reversing camera, keyless entry along with a head-up display complete the photo. Prices do start greater than many of its competitors, however the CX-3 is well equipped as well as a pleasure to drive, having a robust cabin. Choice of 2 petrols and another diesel. Front and 4-wheel drive available. No turbocharged petrols here. Choosing just which engine you need to maximize Mazda CX-3 performance isn't a protracted one since there are just 3 engines available, 1 diesel and a couple of petrols. After you've selected that, it's your decision whether you'd wish to change gears yourself or allow the automatic gearbox undertake it for you. Sky Active G petrol engines. Going against contemporary convention, Mazda has plowed a unique furrow which has a right-sizing program that sees it eschew smaller turbocharged units, which regularly promise much in writing but neglect to deliver in person. Fuel economy figures, quite simply. Which is the reason, instead in the usual turbocharged petrol engines just like the kind you'll discover in its rivals, the CX-3 has got the choice of two naturally aspirated 2.0-liter units. Essentially precisely the same engine, just with different power outputs. This 2.0-liter four-cylinder is obtainable with either 121 horsepower, previously 120 horsepower before an update in 2019, or 150 horsepower and exactly the same 206 Nm of torque. With the manual gearbox and front-wheel drive, the 121 horsepower model completes the 0 to 62 mph sprint in 9 seconds flat. Add the 6-speed automatic gearbox to that along with the time slows by 0.9 seconds. If you desire four-wheel drive, you should buy the more robust 150 horsepower model, available having a choice of manual or automatic transmissions, which manages precisely the same benchmark sprint in 8.8 seconds, for that manual. The automatic takes 9.7 seconds. That tiny difference exists out on the path, with little extra performance offered. The 121 horsepower example feels plenty for any car in this type, and allied for the excellent chassis is merely enough to own fun, assuming your car or truck isn't crammed-packed with your peacefully sleeping children. That's smooth, willing to rev to 0.000 revolutions per minute inside a bid to produce its big power figure. You'll enjoy working both it as well as the slickly engineered 6-speed manual gearbox to find the most from it. However, if you're regularly within the motorway or top-to-bottom hills, it will not be the best suited option. This is where the diesel is available in Skyactiv D diesel engine. Just one diesel engine is accessible in the CX-3, a single 0.8-liter turbocharged unit introduced in 2019. With 115 horsepower and 270 Nm of torque, performance is similar for the 1.5-liter unit it replaced. It's the slowest from the lot, though, having a 0 to 62 mph use of 11.0 seconds. It senses livelier than this doing his thing. Nevertheless, you will find yourself changing gear frequently to maintain the car to use most responsive state. The torque begins all of a sudden, which means once you fall to reduce revs it could really feel sluggish. It is just a rare thing that it is just a diesel that must be revved. Manual and automatic gearboxes. Both the manual and auto gearboxes are 6-speed units, as well as the manual is usually a particular delight make use of with slick, mechanical and precise shifts. Combined with all the excellent steering, well-weighted and perfectly placed pedals, it will help make the CX-3 this sort of thrill they are driving. There's nothing much wrong using the auto either, although the paddles fitted behind the steering wheel from the Sport NAF model can experience a little incongruous. It'll be your choice whether the extra money required for this self-shifter is worth it. Engines will no longer available. Before the 2019 model year updates, the diesel offering was a 60-minute 0.5-liter unit provided with front or four-wheel drive, together with either the 6-speed automatic or manual gearboxes, based on what trim level you selected. There's 105 horsepower and 270 Nm of torque available, aforementioned from just 1,600 revolutions per minute. That tails off by 2,500 revolutions per minute. Nevertheless, it never feels quite as narrowed on the path, using a relatively linear SP watch of power and smooth, refined delivery. That extra torque within the Petrols really can be purchased in handy for overtaking maneuvers or making your way up hills, which diesel is remarkably much like a petrol they are driving. It's free revving and incredibly smooth in their power delivery. All out, the top-wheel drive manual model sprints from 0 to 62 mph in 10.1 seconds, even though the four-wheel drive adds 0.4 of any second to that particular time. Going for your four-wheel drive automatic means a 0 to 62 mph quote of 11.9 seconds. The CX-3 handles well. Feels a lot like a small hatchback. Riders comprised and steering direct. It might appear to be a conventional small crossover, much like its Nissan Juke rival. However, the Mazda CX-3 appears like a much more quality product as opposed to Sunderland-built model the moment you drive it. Body control is particularly impressive, with little with respect to roll or some other movement under extreme braking or accelerating. In fact, the Mazda CX-3's handling is absolutely rather stable, and were it not with the slightly higher seating position, you could potentially fool yourself into piloting something more akin to a regular hatchback. There's a lot of traction from the top, especially using a solid capacity understeer and several feedback over the feelsome 3-spoke leader. Mazda's G-vectoring control system plays an element here, which, in other words, definitely makes the CX-3 tuck into corners within a more eager, agile fashion. Placing the vehicle accurately by using a bend isn't any trouble whatsoever. Along with the CX-3 is really rather good fun to push in a spirited manner. You don't even should select the sport trim, using its larger 18-inch versus 16-inch alloy wheels and tires, as being the CNAV Plus and CLNAV Plus models exhibit a similar levels of control and grip. Interior lifted straight on the Mazda 2. Plenty of adjustment in seating position. Dashboard is intriguing, notable and easy to work with. Almost identical to your Mazda 2, save for just a slightly higher seating position. The cabin on the Mazda CX-3 is neatly designed by incorporating real visual flair and quality materials. The symmetrical flanking in the driver's instrument binnacle with the round air vents causes it to feel heavily focused around the person in control from the vehicle. Opt to the Sport NAV Plus model, and that's emphasized from the centrally placed rev counter, unlike smaller, offset, digital display obtained in CNAV Plus or CLNAV Plus trim, that's more reminiscent of an sports car than the usual junior family crossover. The neat leather-wrapped 3-spoke tire, featuring useful audio and infotainment controls, feels great up to you too. The swathe of fabric, running in the passenger's left-hand air vent to your drivers, makes all the cabin feel wider of computer reliers and adds a visual interest, especially on models fitted with optional leather look upholstery. The driving position is comparable to a Mazda 2, though it's set 50mm higher. Thanks to reach and rake adjustment with the steering wheel and also height adjustment to the driver's seat, it's no problem finding your preferred setting. Seats on Sport NAV Plus models are particularly comfortable and supportive. That's great if you are considering spending quite a while behind the wheel. Choose and CL Plus are over and top seats are heated, whilst the Sport NAV Plus models come having a head-up display which successful but looks slightly incongruous sat atop the binnacle having a fold-out perspex screen to project info on. It's crisp and clear to watch, though. Comfort levels high even on Sport NAV Plus models. Easy to obtain, comfy and have used to the within. Space may very well be cramped for a few. If Mazda CX-3 comfort is often a priority for you personally and you're not desperate for your highest spec CX-3, then might we advise you stick together with the CNAV Plus or CLNAV Plus trim levels. The ride is much more compliant than Sport NAV Plus and its particular attractive 18-inch wheels. However, even this rides well within the majority of surfaces. The 16-inch alloy wheels fitted for the CNAV Plus or CLNAV Plus models led the Alwachi taut and firm CX-3 to face lumps and bumps very effectively. You'll also notice slightly less road roar using the smaller wheels. And the rest in the experience is every bit as pleasing, with almost no wind noise around the move. Really the only disturbance originates from around the large door mirrors. The seats offer a good amount of adjustment, so does the reach and rake controls, while CLNAV Plus models and above gain heated front seats, and climate control, as standard, great for cold winter mornings. Sport NAV Plus models include heated controls as standard. Only taller rear passengers will quickly realize the bench definitely not comfortable, since there's a small shortage of legroom, though too few to present a problem for the children that are more likely to frequent it. Passengers in CX-3s with darkened rear windows could find it slightly claustrophobic within the back, as being the apertures are small. All models well specified. Mid-range and on top of the ones to get. Few options to feature at expense. Navigating the CX-3's trim structure is really a very easy task, following usual Mazda succession of CNAV Plus, CLNAV Plus, Sport NAV Plus as well as the limited run Sport Black Plus. Standard Mazda CX-3 SUV equipment. start together with the entry-level NAF Plus, and standard equipment levels are ample. 16-inch alloy wheels, twin exhausts, leather tire and gear cob, 7.0-inch color touchscreen with sat-nav, DAB radio and Bluetooth, air conditioning, keyless ignition, electric windows all-round, power folding door mirrors, step around NAF Plus to feature, rear parking sensors, automatic lights and wipers, climate control, privacy glass, autonomous emergency braking and lane departure warning. Sport NAF ups the ante a step forward, with 18-inch alloy wheels, LED daytime running lights, with adaptive front LED headlamps, reversing camera with back and front sensors, half cloth, half leather red upholstery, keyless entry, head-up display, Bose multi-channel audio system. Sport Black Plus builds on Sport NAF, that has a different alloy wheel design, a physique kit and Napa leather trim inside. Optional Mazda CX-3 SUV extras. The listing of optional extras available within the CX-3 isn't too extensive, but there are numerous useful additions available. Various metallic and pearlescent colors are on all models. Options include half cream leather, half black suede upholstery with electric seat adjustment on petrol models. There's also the safety pack, including adaptive LED headlamps, blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, rear city brake support and traffic sign recognition. Lots of normal safety kit. More could be added for expense. 4 stars from Euro NCAP. The Mazda CX-3 continues to be rewarded 4 stars by Euro NCAP, and that is in line using the 2 Super Mini, which it shares the vast majority of its components. As standard, the CX-3 has 6 airbags, tire pressure monitoring, traction control and electronic stability control, and also emergency stop signaling that could rapidly flash the indicators to alert other road users for your situation. There's fashionable Thatcham Cat 1 alarm and immobilizer attached to all CX-3s, and others with children will appreciate the ISOFIX fittings about the outer rear seats and replacement for turn off the top passenger seat airbag. Choose the SAIL or Sport NAF model and also you gain the firm smart city brake support and lane departure warning system, while the second also includes a head-up display to ensure you can invariably keep your eyes on the highway. Extra safety kit might be specified on top-line Sport NAF models, including a traffic sign recognition system, adaptive lights and blind spot monitoring, enhancing its safety credentials significantly. Space is adequate, although not class-leading. Enough space for 4, but boot is small. Is everything style over substance? With more room inside compared to a 2. Mazda CX-3 Practicality is the identical with other models on this hard-fought class. The front seats are pushed out to your extremes from the car's width, both to further improve room for anyone in the top and help the view for the people behind, who incidentally sit 37mm higher up. It doesn't glance at the most spacious from the segment, however neither could it be the largest about the outside either, and determined by your driving position possibly it hook squeeze for legroom from the back. There's no real shortage of headroom and shoulder space is adequate, but it really does feel larger than the usual Nissan Juke by way of example. The issue is that those who easily feel claustrophobic may struggle inside back on the CX-3, as models with privacy glass can appear quite cramped, especially due on the small rear windows and low roofline. Boot space varies determined by model. This was the very first Mazda to have a flexible and adjustable load floor for the 350-litre boot space. That's 19.5 litres larger versus the boot you'll see in its smaller sibling, both either. As you'd hope, there's a 60-40 split function, in case you have to carry large/long/awkward loads, and, though Sport NAF Plus models equipped while using excellent Bose head unit feature a supplementary speaker inside the boot which robs the figure of 63 litres. That means 287 liters. That is smaller than many superminis. As desirable as being a top-spec Sport Nav Plus could be, it's not really a practical choice for growing families. Compact exterior dimensions mean placing the CX-3 on the highway is incredibly easy. Plus, with large door mirrors and several driver aids, you won't find it hard to maneuver it in a space, either. The rear windows are small. Rear roof pillar right at the back from the car is rather chunky, so it's a very important thing it's not really a big car to squeeze right into a tight space. The handy thing is it's barely longer over a supermini, but it really benefits from a somewhat raised driving position, which implies it's this little bit better to see beyond. The most disappointing feature from the CX-3 would be the boot on Sport Nav Plus models. While regular versions employ a decent 350-litre boot, that is fairly average with the segment that may be adjusted that has a variable height floor. Sport Nav Plus is robbed of space caused by a Bose subwoofer. This means those looking for practical family transport must rule out a top-spec model, since you only obtain a shallow load area, whether or not it's still with relative ease to access due to a level loading lip.